My name is KENDWYS. I'm a first grade teacher at Cobbett Elementary School in Lynn, Massachusetts. One of the biggest challenges we have at Cobbett is that the vast majority of our population is ESL. They are EL students, and so because of it, we do have a big language gap. Research does tell us that it takes about 3 to 5 years for students to acquire language. So one of our biggest focus in our school is to be able to not just teach them the content, what they need to learn, but also to bridge the gap, the achievement gap that we have because of language. So they need to acquire the language as well as the content and everything we're trying to teach them. So we really focus a lot on being able to get them ready as far as accountable talk and having those academic conversations, but it's a lot because you have to teach them the academic language as well as just the conversational language, which is not there. So it can be quite daunting. It can be a challenge for us, but it's something that we work with. So the most important takeaway I would have to say to teachers who are new to Reach for Reading is to just take it easy. Take a breather, relax. It's gonna be okay. When you first get those packages and you start getting all these boxes and all this curriculum, it's daunting and it just looks overwhelming. Like there's so much. But the positive part of it is that it is a lot, and sometimes it is too much. But you don't have to use it all. You have all these things available to you, and you have to use what's good for you, what will support the program, what will support student learning, all those things that, teach to the standards that you're trying to teach to. So maybe you're not working on a certain standard, then you don't really have to use that resource. There's so much available, but it's there. And so whenever you need it, it's there. And the biggest thing is just figuring out how to organize it all to then make it work for you. And figuring it out backwards. That's the other thing, going backwards. I start backwards. You go from the comprehension. What is it that I'm going to teach today? What is it that I want my students to learn? What is it that the assessment is going to test them on? And then I start working backwards. What are the resources that are going to support this so that I can teach it, adequately and my students can really learn it? What are the things that I'm not going to need? I can put this to the side. This is really not that important to support this skill or support this standard that I'm trying to teach. So start from the end, work your way back, and pick and choose the resources that are going to support. Because it's all there for you, but you don't have to use it all. You have differentiated small groups. You may use, the sound cards for one group, and for another group, you don't need it. So you use what you need for what you need. So my tip for organization would be, take everything out and just start dividing. When we first got the kits, we had these huge boxes with all the books in there, and I said, this does not work for me. I'm sorry, it's not even cute. So I needed to get rid of the box, and I pulled out all the books, and I started looking at them, dividing them by levels. Okay, these are all my lower levels, these are all my higher levels, and splitting them up that way. Then I started looking at them through comprehension. Okay, this supports comprehension for week 1, and this is a lower one. I'm going to use this one with my lower group to teach this comprehension. As I did that through my first year using Reach, because it does take time, I'm not going to lie, it takes time, but as you work through that, then I started dividing them. I started putting them in little Ziploc bags, and I knew for the next year I could start working on other things to organize myself. So for instance, right now we are on Unit 5. I have a bin with all Unit 5 materials. And I go into my bin, and I have a Ziploc bag that's Unit 5, Week 1. I have all the books in different levels that teach the comprehension skill we're working on for that week. They're already in there for me. Next year, when it's Unit 5, Week 1, I just open that bin and I take them out. And if I find that a book is not really adequate for the group I'm working with, that's fine. Just take that one out and pick another one from the bin that better works for you. Have your sight word cards, just write them out. They don't need to be fancy. Write them out in simple cards and just stick them in a little bag and put them in there. Next year I go to that again and it's all in there for me. Any centers that you use, anything that you have, put them in a folder and stick them in that bin. You know, it takes time up front to put it together, but in the long run, it's just all there for you, so it makes it a lot easier. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's all there. One of the things that I really enjoy about Reach for Reading is that it connects the reading and the writing they're not separate. They work hand in hand. So as my students are learning reading and they're learning the main idea and the details, within that same unit, their writing project is them writing, an informational, they're writing information, and when they're writing their information, they're stating a main idea. They're having details that support their main idea. And so those two things connected together has really been a big push for them. I've also seen that their reading has gotten better as a whole because of the books. Because now they have these nonfiction texts that have real life words in them. They're able to increase in their vocabulary knowledge. And so when they're taking their reading test, if they get to a word that they don't really know, they're actually able to use their content knowledge now to be able to figure out what the word is. Whereas before, they didn't have the content knowledge to be able to figure out what that word meant. They were just trying to sound it out. And this time they have, the schema to be able to read through and do very well on the test. So I have seen a very big increase with my students reading. They've really just gone up so much. So such a positive. The best part of it is that science and social studies are so ingrained in the curriculum that the students are able to learn all about these things in their world while still learning everything that we expect from them for Common Core.